On the 14th of June, 2017, a fire began in a flat on the 4th floor of Grenfell Tower, in North Kensington, West London. The tower stood on the Lancaster West estate, hemmed in by streets, a school and low housing. 2 lower floors had been converted to flats, and the building held more people than it was first built for. A refurbishment finished the year before had wrapped the concrete tower in new panels and insulation. The panels were aluminium, and between the 2 aluminium faces was a core of polyethylene. Polyethylene burns. The same manufacturer's polyethylene panel was banned in the United States above a certain building height. In Britain there was no equivalent ban. There was a test, and a product that passed the test could be used. After the fire, towers across the country had panels pulled off so that what sat behind them could be identified. To pass, flames could not spread more than a set distance up the outside of the rig. The rig the assembly is built on is 2 stories tall. Grenfell Tower was 22 stories taller than that. The fire started in a kitchen. Crews arrived quickly, went in, and believed they had put it out. Within an hour the flame had run up the outside of the building and reached the top. It then spread sideways and down, along the panels, until fire was on every face of the tower. People watching from the street described it in the same way, over and over.
The whole one side of the building was on fire. The cladding went up like a matchstick.
Residents had been told for years that in a fire they should stay in their flats and wait. Firefighters went up the single staircase again and again, and brought people down out of the smoke. By early morning the smoke was visible from the other side of London. The tower burned through the night and was still smouldering after daylight. The officer who took command had been a firefighter for most of his working life.
This is an unprecedented incident. In my 29 years of being a firefighter, I have never ever seen anything of this scale.
One assistant commissioner took direct command of the firefighting and held it for the rest of the day. A crane was brought into work at the top of what was left. What was left of the tower stood over the streets around it, black against the sky. For weeks nobody could say how many people had been inside, and families put up notices themselves. Police estimated one figure within a week. The final number, established much later, was lower. The burn pattern was legible from the street. Where the panels stopped, so did the worst of the fire. Analysis of the CCTV later established how many of the people in the building that night got out of it. The tower was wrapped in scaffolding and left standing while the inquiry did its work. People left flowers and candles at the churches nearby, and kept leaving them for years. The inquiry turned early to the people who had signed the work off.
This raises the question of whether the building regulations officers were sufficiently competent and did they know what they were looking at. It also begs a question about what they were actually shown. Was anything concealed from them?
The banners at the top of the covered tower were put there by the people who had lived around it. It is still there, still covered, years after the night it burned. The panels passed a test on a rig 2 stories tall, and were fitted to a building far higher than the rig could ever represent. When a test is passed on a 2-story rig, what has actually been proved?